How's everybody doing today? Today we're going to look at a video that it redoes our test average calculator that we did in another section. So we're still going to take the three test scores and calculate the average. But in addition to that, we're going to assign a letter grade to it, such as an A, B, C, or a D. In order to assign the letter grade, we are going to have to use if statements, so that's kind of the main topic of this video, is how to use if statements. The letter grade itself is going to be pretty straightforward to calculate it. If it's 90 or above, you get an A, 80 to 89.9 a B, and then a C, and then a D, etc. So anything below a 59.9 is an F. So that's our grading policy we're going to have to work with. If I kind of look at the code that I already have, from our previous program, we had already defined DBL test 1, DBL test 2, DBL test 3, and DBL test average. These are all variables to hold our information. In addition, what I did with this program is I defined STR letter grade. Now STR is an abbreviation for string. Any text information such as first name, last name, address, in this case a letter grade, is referred to in Visual Basic as a string. So that's why I prefaced this with STR letter grade. Okay, so again, looking at our previous code, we take the information from the text boxes, put it into our variables. We make the calculation for our test average, test 1 plus test 2 plus test 3 divided by 3. I format that to numeric 2 decimal. I take that result, I put it into my text box. So right now, if I run this, say I got a 78, an 86, a 92, I hit calculate test average, I get an 85.33. Now in addition to that, what we want this program to do is assign a letter grade. I have my first if statement already out here for assigning a letter grade. I've got if DBL test average greater than or equal to 90, then STR letter grade equals A. With an if statement, you need to have a condition. In my first if statement, my condition is just a single condition. I'm saying, well, if your grade is above a 90 or equal to it, then you got an A. So this if statement will only execute if this is true, if the DBL test average is above a 90. I've got a second one here, which will take care of a range for me. If I get between an 80 and a 90, then I should get a B. Now this if statement uses a keyword and. Here I've got if DBL test average greater than or equal to 80 and DBL test average less than 90, then STR letter grade equals B. What happens when you combine two conditions with the word and, both of these conditions have to be true before the overall if statement is true. So the only way I'm going to get a B is if this number, DBL test average, is greater than or equal to 80 and also less than 90. Okay? If one or the other of these is true, but not both of them, it will not execute this if statement. Let's take a look at the rest of the if statements I would need to complete this. Okay. To kind of continue on and look at the rest of these if statements, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. I've got my third one. If DBL test average is greater than or equal to 70 and also DBL test average is less than 80, then I get a C. So once you get going, they do kind of look very similar to the next one down. For my D, I've got to be greater than or equal to 60 and less than 70. And for my F1, I'm back to just a single condition. I don't need two conditions for here. I've got if DBL test average less than 60, then STR letter grade equals F. So that captures all the grades that I have. So, test it out. I'm going to run this. I'm going to say, let's say I got an 89, a 94, and a 96. I hit calculate. Not only does it now calculate my letter grade, excuse me, my number grade, but it also calculates my letter grade. I'll try out some different numbers here and see if it works. Usually when I do a series of if statements, I put in enough data so I actually get to test all of them. Because sometimes you get like 3 out of 4 of them right, and then you forget to change one thing on an if statement. So, you know, for example, you never get a grade of a D. Change some numbers here, a little bit lower. So I've tested out my A, my B, my C. Still in the C range. D range works, F range works. So it looks like the whole thing worked. I wanted to also show you an alternate way to do this. Hopefully I won't confuse you. I'm just trying to show you a lot of different ways that Visual Basic has for you to do a similar process. Remember, we just went through here and worked with our if statements to get our letter grade calculated. Visual Basic also has something called if-else-if combinations. So here what I did is I did 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 5 separate if statements. So I've got if, and if, and if, and if, and if. So that's one way to do it. The advantage to using if-else statements, you kind of put everything into one statement. It's more of a combined thing, and it does save you a little bit of typing. It's really going to look very, very similar to what we did above. I start out if DBL test average greater than equal to 90, then STR letter grade equals A. Now I don't need an end if here like I did above. I just put else if, and then I've got my next condition, STR letter grade equals B, else if DBL test average greater than 70, less than 80, letter grade equals C, else if for the D, else if for the F. One of the nice things about the else if series, it has a trailing else clause, which is optional, but if you use it, it will trigger only if none of the ones above triggered. I did make a little change to my last else if from my if. Before I just had DBL test average less than 60, you got an F. Here I've got less than 60 and DBL test average greater than 0. I kind of threw that in just as an error checking mechanism because you shouldn't have a negative average. Like you shouldn't have, say, a negative 72 average. So if you use this trailing else, it will catch that, meaning if none of these others trigger, it will catch it and it will execute this one. Another thing I just wanted to show you, right now we've got 2 different blocks of code each doing the same thing. Now if I wanted to test this block of code, what I could do is I could what's called comment out. If I want to comment out a whole block of code, I can highlight it, and then I can go up here to this little icon, comment out the selected lines, and now I've clicked that, and instead of me having to physically put a single quote in front of all these lines, it does it for me. So now it's going to be using this code. If I run this, I just wanted to show you that one thing. You know, let's say I do it normally, 70. It says, all right, you've got an 80 average, your letter grade is a B. But let's say I made a mistake. Maybe I typed negative 8,888 in here. So now what happens is I get a negative number for my average, which I know it shouldn't really have, but that's where it triggered this message. Because none of the other else if series triggered, it triggers this message box, which is, it's kind of a nice little addition that the else if series has over just your individual ifs. One last way I wanted to show you to do this is with a select case. Some people like a select case, other people don't. Remember, you can always do this with just your normal old if statements. With a select case, what you do is select case DBL test average. Basically, we're saying we want to use a select case, and it's going to be based on this variable. Here I've got case is greater than or equal to 90, str letter grade equals A. The nice thing about the select case is it's a little bit easier to signify a range. Whereas before we had to say DBL test average greater than or equal to 80 and DBL test average less than or equal to, less than 90. With the case, you can just do case 80 to 90, letter grade is B, case 70 to 79, letter grade is C. So some people like it a little bit better, some people don't like it as much. It has some idiosyncrasies where, for example, here, your first one, since I'm not using a range, you had to say case is. All your other ones, since you were using a range, you use the to. Once you get used to it, it's kind of nice. It does also have that added benefit that the else if series has, where you can add a case else. And I did the same kind of catch-all thing, where if I wind up with a negative average, it is going to flag that. To end a select, you just type end select. Our letter grade basically goes into our text box regardless. Anyhow, this is 3 different ways to do the same thing. All this code is saved and will be available to you in this little file that's available for download in this link. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it will help you to do your homework, and we'll see you next time.